Hey y'all, how are ya? Back again with plant sessions. My name is Kristen. I am one of the co-founders of Tula, and we are going to be talking about propagating succulents today. Perhaps you have a few succulents at home that you would like to cut into pieces and multiply, because why not? So this is a two-part series. We're going to then talk about tropical plants, but to keep it somewhat short for arids, we'll just start with arids and succulents. Arids or succulents. So 3 ways of propagating plants are stem cuttings, leaf cuttings, and offsets, aka pups. You hear people call baby plants offsets pups. So we're going to cover all 3 of those things. And in the interim, any questions, feel free to always write to us at care@tula.house. So let's just dive right in. Okay, so stem cuttings. Stem cuttings are when you actually take a cutting, an actual stem cutting from your plant. And I'm going to use jade. I have a few other examples here. Let me start with jade. Jade is one of the easiest plants to propagate. So let me explain. I'm going to use my knife, and it's clean. You always have to make sure that your knives are clean. And we're going to take a pretty large cutting off of this jade. So I'm gonna go, you see that? Right in there. And I'm just gonna do a clean cut, as clean as I can. Hopefully you can see this. I'm gonna do it carefully because this knife is really sharp. Boom, just like that. So, clean cut, 1 swipe, and now this guy's a little skinnier, but still looks fantastic. So we're gonna put that aside for now. Now, this is a freshly cut succulent. Before putting this back into soil, I'm gonna wait for this to callus over. And a calloused over cutting looks like this. It looks like a scab. Hopefully that is focusing on that for you guys. So fresh, scabbed. You would never put dirt into an open wound, so you would never put freshly cut succulent back into dirt. More often or not, it's just gonna cause rot for the stem cutting. So we wanna wait till this calluses, and then we want to put into a pot with soil. And you can also wait until it pushes out roots. This is actually a pup that we're going to talk about, but you can wait until you start to see roots push out from a cutting. But this guy is looking really thirsty. This is an aloe that we took off. I'm going to take these little bits off that we took from a mother plant. And it's starting to look really thirsty. It really does need to get into soil and watered well. It's well calloused. It's ready to get planted. So we would just put into a pot, add soil, give it some love, give it some water, give it some sun. Boom, that's it. So stem cutting, that's as easy. Well, actually I should add that I will take off these bottom leaves, and then I will let this whole thing callus, just because I can get more into a soil that way. So it'll just be like this. Okay, stem cuttings. This is what happens after you take a cutting. I wanted to show this. So you see this rickrack cactus had a cutting taken off of this stem. And now there's a whole new plant growing right there. A little baby is pushing out. Also on the end here, you can, that's focusing for you guys. You can see there's a little babe pushing right there. So you're not, a plant's only job is to grow. So it's going to keep growing whenever you cut it. The same thing's gonna happen to this jade that we just cut. It's gonna just push out new growth. Maybe from the top, maybe from the side, it will decide. So I just wanted to show you that after you take a cutting, you will see new growth. Here's another example of a stem cutting that we could take. This is a Kalanchoe Tomentosa, aka Panda plant, little fuzzy guy. And as you can see down here, there's a ton of roots. It is just like searching for water, searching for more soil. And what I could do, because these roots are all ready for me, I could actually just come in here, choose whatever stem I want. How about this one? and it already has roots. I don't need to wait. I mean, I could wait for it to callus if I'm going to put this end into the dirt, but I could just put it atop the soil and gently push these roots into a pot with soil, and the roots are ready to go. So that's another example that you can take for stem cuttings when you start to see roots pushing out. Take a clipping, you can let it callus still if you want, or just gently guide, because these roots are very fine and delicate. So you would gently guide them into the soil, just basically just by placing the plant on top of a bed of soil, and that's it. The roots will find their way. They do sense gravity. That is one of the amazing facts of plants. Okay, so moving on, let's talk about leaf cuttings. So the other way of propagating succulents are leaf cuttings. So here is an established leaf cutting system. This is Kalanchoe as well. Kalanchoe is one of this huge family of plants and really, really easy to propagate. So these leaves were simply, just like this, put into the soil after they had calloused, put into the soil just like that, upright, and they have now pushed out entirely new plants. So here's the leaf, the roots go down and up, and here are the new plants. You can even see little baby plants, you see right there, coming up. This is a beautiful example of a leaf cutting. I love it. This came from actually a customer of ours. Hi, Eve. She gave this to us. So what is an example of a good leaf cutting for propagation and bad leaf cutting, and how do you know? So when leaves fall, like oftentimes, especially with Graptovarious species, leaves fall off really, really easily. So I pulled this guy out so you could see what an example of like a good leaf cutting would be. So I'm just gonna take this guy off. You do want to hear a little click. That's when you know you got a good one. It doesn't want to come off. Yeah. Oh. Okay, there we go. So that's a good leaf cutting. Okay, I have the entire leaf. I might have a little bit of the stem, that really doesn't matter. But this end bit is intact. Now, if I were to take something from the bottom, right, and I was kind of like a little bit more rough with it, and let's say it ripped, this is not gonna propagate. I mean, I've actually seen propagation from these, but more often than not, this is going to propagate much easier and faster than a broken leaf. Another sign that you're not gonna see propagation is when the leaves start to yellow and they're beginning just to decompose. These are not going to propagate. Anything that kind of looks like soup or wrinkled and starting to bruise, these are not going to propagate. Anything that looks damaged, basically, and unhealthy, this is not going to propagate. Okay, that's not going to propagate. So here is a leaf that's starting to push out some little baby roots. You see that? I hope it's, I still see it's on me. Anyway, I think you can see that these are little tiny roots pushing out. So that's great news. So basically I could just put this right into this soil, just like that, and wait for a little pup to come out. Okay, the last method of propagation for succulents that we're gonna talk about are taking little offsets or pups. So I have a Haworthia and an Aloe as an example. Many of you might have aloe at home that have pushed out pups down at the bottom. This is a really, really easy way to propagate. So you don't necessarily have to do what I just did and take it completely out of the pot, but I just wanted to show you what's going on here. So this is a beautiful root system of the aloe. This is a very healthy plant, but I want to get down in here and I want to take some of these pups out. You know, you try not to be too rough, and you actually try to keep some roots intact, So I just pulled that right off, and you see there's a root already intact. So I can actually go ahead and put this right back into a pot. Let me just show you how I would do that. So here's some soil. I will just put this here, just like we did in our potting tutorials. I really like to let soil fall around a root ball versus putting up soil first in a pot and then making a hole with a pen and sticking it in. Whatever you prefer, whatever works for you, but that's why I do it that way. I just feel like the falling of the soil is a little bit more natural. So just like that. And this is a good size for this cutting, this pot. There's another little pup here. It's much smaller. So we're gonna pull that off. These guys won't have roots, so we'll have to wait for these to callus until we put these into soil. Same thing here. And this is what growers do. This is how growers keep supplying us plants. Oh, and here, this little baby has roots. See, that was nice. They have a mother plant, and they take the pups from the mother plant to keep supplying to us and to you. So that's all we'll do for the aloe. We'll put it back in its pot. We didn't disrupt it too much. Seems to be pretty dry, so I'll give that a water later. Here, and then we'll just show one more example of pups. We'll take this Haworthia. Now, there are a ton of plants here. For any grower, they'll look at this plant and be like, wow. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's about 7 to 8 plants. Let's pull the whole thing apart. Why not? Why not? Let's see how many we can get here. Okay, that's nice. That is nice. So there's one, beautiful, roots. There's 2, that's a nice little double right there with roots, beautiful. That's 2. How many do you think I can get? Maybe 5, maybe 6. There's 3, beautiful with roots. And I could continue pulling these apart, but they're nice sizes. And you see what I'm doing, right? I'm just like, I'm using force, but nothing, like I'm kinda, I mean, when you have practice, you feel it a little bit more, but you don't push too hard. That's a nice, it's a nice big root right there. That's a beautiful plant. We've got 4. Should we pull this apart or should we just leave it together? Let's pull apart. Now we got 6. All right, there's 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you remember what that looked like before? That took about a minute, maybe longer, to make 6 new plants. So what we would do, I'm gonna use my pot that I just used for the aloe. I'm gonna use the same soil that it was planted in. And let's just take this root, and you see this? And again, I'm just going to add the soil after I put that root ball in there. Nothing too compact. I like using the same soil that a plant was grown in because it is used to it, and that's usually the right sort of structure. If it's coming from a grow house, they know what they're doing. And look at that. We have a beautiful new plant, a little baby that maybe one day you can come and get too. All right, that is it. So succulent propagation, 3 methods are stem cuttings, leaf cuttings, and offsets. Any questions? Let us know. care@tula.house. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Wishing you well and happy day, and see you soon. Bye-bye.